right now in the wake of certain things happen, like someone being quote unquote accidentally deported, and this whole stink that they're making about bringing him back to into the country, and and people being opposed to it because he's supposedly a gang member, yet there's no evidence of him being a gang member. You're going on the word of you know Republicans who are adamant about something without any evidence. So it's just like it's scary because you almost feel like, well, shit, they can just label anybody anything and decide, okay, we going to run you up out of here. And there's other people who have dealt with it. I think there was a couple that was deported. They'd been in the country for over 40 years.
Yeah,
They
I
were
heard about
recently
them.
I
deported.
don't even think I heard
Um,
about that.
Yeah.
yeah,
They were from if I'm not mistaken, it might have been the LA area. They were from, and
I
don't
think
quote me, it
so.
was either Cuba or
I think they were,
Colombia.
yeah, it was either Cuba or Colombia, one of those.
Yeah.
They were deported. Um,
And they raised their kids and everything. They raised
Yeah.
their kids and have grandkids, and I think
Hmm.
they came here in 1980, and they
mhm.
didn't have, I guess for whatever reason they came here as an asylum seekers in 1980, and I guess they didn't have their papers straight all this time, so they got deported. So yeah, it's a little crazy. I thought that story in particular was a little wild to me because they had like businesses and they're retired and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
got a whole family. So that was a little wild. So
Been paying taxes
Yeah.
and
yeah,
being good citizens for all these years, and suddenly you get deported to someplace that you really don't have any
Yeah.
ties to. I mean, that's
Yeah.
Like that's
terrifying.
not home.
Yeah.
Like, you're not. That's not home to you anymore.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
right. Well, and they're not even from
Yeah. They're
Venezuela,
never
so it's
there.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a random country.
No,
right?
they didn't get. They weren't deported to Venezuela. They were deported back to their home country. It was either Cuba
Were
or
they?
Colombia. Yeah,
I
they
thought
didn't go
they
to
were.
Venezuela. They were
Oh,
sent back to
okay,
their actual
okay.
their
Yeah.
home country. But yeah,
But
to
after
your
40
point, B,
years, is
that's
that
not
really
home.
their home country anymore? That's their
Right.
birth
Right.
country. They were in their home
Yes.
country. They just got kicked
That's
out of
true.
it. So
Yeah.
That's very
And
true.
I took a
Very
whole
very true.
Supreme
Mhm.
Court judgment. The Supreme Court, they ruled 9-0 to bring him back home. Like, why does it need to be that way? You mistakenly took him from his home, put him back.
Mhm.
Wait, now are we talking about a specific person?
Yes. What
Because
is
I know
his
you.
The guy
name?
that was mistakenly deported,
Yeah.
they claimed he was here. When did he here on asylum as well? What was his name?
Let's see what his name is.
Let me
Um,
look that up. Now, now the guy that you're talking about was he? Did he come into the country within the last 4 years?
Mm, no, he's been here for a while. I think they're talking about the one about the guy that's been here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
He's been here
um,
for a while and was married with
Omar Abrego
children.
Garcia. He's in I think
Is
he's
that
in
his
El
name?
right,
Salvador.
right, right.
Mm-hmm.
And it took an act of the Supreme Court to bring him back. They say there was already a court order in place for him to not be deported, but that order was ignored, and they sent him to El Salvador because the reason he left was because he was under threat of being you know killed by the cartel, and
Okay.
he was. They said there's no evidence of him being involved in a
Yeah.
gang or being affiliated with the gang in any way, and that was the reasoning that they used to deport
He
him,
wasn't supposed to be
even
deported
though a
either.
Oh, okay.
A
he
court
wasn't
ruled
right because
against
there was
it.
a
They
court
foreboded it, and they still moved forward with it.
and deported him anyway.
that's insane.
That's
So we're
terrifying,
just ignoring
isn't it?
judgments and rulings. Like, right.
Exactly. And then won't even admit, okay, we made this was wrong. This shouldn't have been done.
Mm.
Let's try to fix this. No, he should be it doesn't matter what the judge said. He should be deported because he was a member of MS-13.
She's not.
Well, if Homeland Security already investigated and said we find no evidence of this person being a part of this gang, therefore we are issuing an order to block deportation, then why And then what do you have to stand on to now accuse this man of being part of a gang and justifying and really technically illegal
Mm-hmm.
deportation?
Right.
Okay, so Kilmar Armando Abrigo
Garcia.
Garcia.
Yep.
Hmm.
He was living in Maryland and was deported to maximum prison terrorist confinement center in El Salvador in 2025 in March. Despite having both immigration judge order to protect him from removal to El Salvador, since 2019, him and his wife and 5-year-old, are both American citizens. He was deported through the Trump administration. Okay, so let's look at that. Well, I think that yeah, he was arrested. And he's arrested at Home Depot. Home Depot is not the place to be these days. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you
Man,
right now. Home Depot
Those
is not
parking
the
lots are
place to be.
empty.
man,
They
No,
packed
ICE is
in the
taking out the
morning
parking
and
lot.
mm-hmm.
listen. They are dialing it up. I live probably about less than half, maybe a third of a mile from a Home Depot. And when
Mm-hmm.
you go closer to the Home Depot, you got our brown brothers, not I don't say brothers and sisters, our brown brothers out there probably looking for day work. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if they're illegal, not illegal, but what I noticed is that since the Trump administration came in, the local police, the East Orange police, they hit the sirens on these guys when they're standing. They usually stand, and this is not Home Depot yet. This is getting to Home Depot, and they
Mm-hmm.
kind of congregate. The police be like, putting the sirens on and telling them to break up. So, Home Depot congregating is probably not the best place to be,
Uh,
but that's just a side note. I'm not saying anything's right. I
Right.
think that there's definitely some people who've gotten swept up. That guy, the couple from Cuba or Colombia, I can't remember which country. So there
Mm-hmm.
are some examples, but I think the other thing that I noticed too is that we have a problem. The problem of immigration the last 4 years, I think, has also contributed to it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that America has got to kind of figure out where they want to go as far as immigration because we have extremely lax immigration here in comparison to other countries. Um, so I don't condone the things that are wrong, but I think that the very lax system we have here causes those problems because then you have, in my opinion, you had a very lax system where people were coming in and it would take years and years and years for people to deal with these things. And I think that that's somewhat of a an incentive sometimes for some who come into the country like, yo, I'm gonna come in and they're not gonna figure this out for years. By the time they figure it out, I'm gonna be already planted here. I'm gonna have my kids, have my family, and I think that's part of the big problem with immigration. But you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's
I mean,
just
I
kind of
definitely agree with you, but just the way that they're trying to handle it now retroactively is just cruel in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of cases, and
Mm-hmm.
just it just to me it just defies logic and integrity to just treat people with some level of humanity and
Yeah.
say it does whether regardless of whether it was the Biden administration or the previous administration or whoever and however the immigration laws are what they are, you're still dealing with human lives and variations of people who are here for a variety of reasons, whether it is, you know, legitimate asylum, trying to find a better life, or you have people who are here for nefarious reasons, murderers and rapists and child molesters. You do have that population of people that are here as well. But I think that it just makes sense that when you're dealing with human beings, that you deal with it in a humane,
Mm-hmm.
logical, and lawful way
Yeah.
versus this so much vitriol now based on, broken up by party lines, and now everything is just done with so much hatred and so much anger and so much bitterness that the law and humanity is just gone out the
Yep.
window. It's like, we're doing everything based on how we feel, the law be damned, which is just it's very
It's
dangerous.
very
So it is scary.
dangerous when our
It's
government
it's it's
is ignoring the rule of law.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
like this. I like this. I like the energy. I like the energy. Uh, Tanja, you look like you contemplating something.
I mean, it's just too much to think about when it comes to immigration. I mean, this country. I mean, we're all immigrants. I mean, so just to think that that we have a president that is just not even. I mean, this president is ruthless. I mean, he's a sociopath, in my opinion.
he's also the son of
Um,
immigrants.
right,
Right.
exactly.
The husband of an
Right.
immigrant.
Um,
Your
Yeah,
Two.
in-laws are
right.
immigrants. I mean,
So
your wife
your wife's an
is an
immigrant.
immigrant. So I don't understand where the bitterness and the
Yeah,
vitriol comes in unless you just look at it from a standpoint of race.
yeah,
yeah, I just think it. I mean, I really think that's what it boils down to. He just does not want people with brown skin to be in this country.
yeah.
Period.
Now
And
let's explore. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Tanya. Tanja, I don't mean to cut you
I
off.
mean, I don't even think that's realistic. I mean, this country. I mean, just like I said. I mean, that's what we're known for. I mean, that's why people come to the United States. That's why people want to be in the United States. So, I mean, the fact that we have a president that wants this country to look like him is just not even realistic. But that's what he's trying to do. So,
Okay.
you know.
I love this because I think that we're at a point now where everybody is arguing and everybody has different points of view depending on their experience, and I think that's important for us all to explore that. Now, with immigration though, so let's assume for a second that that's not the case as far as the skin color, right? So I think one of the issues with immigration, like when you start to talk about the money spent, right? So I do agree we should be humane about immigration. But when you start to look at the money that was actually spent on people who came into the country, that part is very interesting. So recently, so the some of the sanctuary cities. So Eric Adams in New York, um, the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Adams,
Brandon Johnson.
and Mayor, excuse me, Brandon
Yeah,
Johnson. I always confuse the two. Brandon Johnson, sorry. Yeah, he's interesting, but it's a whole nother story. But
Another
Brandon
episode.
Johnson, Eric Adams, New York, the mayor of Boston, and the mayor of Denver. They recently testified how much money they spent. So I think it's an interesting time. Let's take Chicago for example. In Chicago, Brandon Johnson, he's funny because he didn't want to when they testified how much money they spent. He was very reluctant to talk about how much money was spent. So Eric Adams for New York. Eric Adams has got his get out of jail free card from Donald Trump. They dropped the charges on him, so he didn't have a problem saying how much money they spent in New York. They spent $8.6 billion for the money for on illegal migrants in New York as the sanctuary city. So I've had these conversations with a friend of mine also too, who is we have these debates back and forth, and I was like, it does cost the country a lot of money. So I think it's something that we had to reckon with a little bit because then you look at in Chicago too, Chicago for example, like you start to look at some of our cities and you look at where we at as America, and then you look how much money they spend on a lot of the people who came over here the last like 4 years. It's crazy numbers. So I think